Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Looks like all computer companies are going to be in trouble pretty soon. Well, unless they can figure out another way to extend a little further. So, everybody knows that the world is going to ARM chips, right? Except Intel. I mean, I think they're just going to go tits up because they couldn't even convince Apple or anybody else to allow them to make their chips for them so they could steal their technology and come out with some of their own chips. Oh yeah, that's kind of like a violation of trust or something, I think. I don't know. But anyways, so we're pretty sure that Intel is gonna go bye-bye like the dodo bird eventually. x86 has to die. It's come to the end of its life. You can't do much more with it, and so we're finished. Apple, on the other hand, left Intel back in 2020 and said, we're going to do our own thing. So, in the later half of 2020, Apple comes out with the Apple Silicon ARM based chips, right? And of course, many manufacturers of PCs have also gotten onto the banana boat as well. Very smart decision. ARM is better, ARM is faster, ARM does use a lot less power, okay? But there's some issues here. Um, we know that going from an M1 chip to an M2 chip, M1 to M2, was not that great of a increase in performance. Okay, especially when you were going core to core counts and all that stuff, right? But M1 to M3, that was a good big jump, especially with the iMac, right? 1 to 3, great idea. And of course, going from 3 to 4 is not going to be a very big jump, right? But going from 2 to 4 is a big jump, okay? Now, Apple has announced, and you can order, I guess, or pre order, whatever, new iPads that are M4 based chips. And I think they have a new M2 one as well. But, anyways, I don't foresee fabulous sales out of the M4 iPads. In fact, I think hardly anybody's going to even touch one because there's no point. The M2 doesn't even have software to really take advantage of it. So why do we have an M4 iPad for? Oh yeah, the drip feeding of more money. Oh, we want more money. And we know that some of you want the M4 because 2 to 4 is a huge leap after all. And there will be a lot of suckers. And there always is. I can't afford to actually even upgrade right now as much as I could use an upgrade. I wish I could afford a new Mac, but I honestly can't. So I'm kind of stuck with my M1 for, I don't know, maybe a few more years yet. And it's starting to get a little slower. Thank you for the Mac OS updates. Um, but it's getting aged, right? And programs are getting bigger. And eventually, I'm going to run out of major OS releases. But as each new major OS releases, we do get slowed down a bit. And it's not that it's an intentional thing from Apple, it's just that's the way it goes. Bigger, more powerful software wants more RAM, wants more processing power, and that's just it. So, anyways, the problem is we're at 3 nanometer technology right now. And because of that, we can only drop so much lower, which means whether it's an Apple silicon processor or whether it's, Fuji Manchuki or whoever, right, on the Windows side, they're going to run out of nanometers too. Everybody does. It affects everyone, right? So, Apple's going to drop down to 2 nanometer eventually, probably in M5s, they'll go to 2 nanometer. I don't see them staying at 3 nanometer with an M5 chip, okay? And probably M6, maybe M7 will be at 1 nanometer. But then what happens after that? You're out. You're gone from the game. You need a new emerging technology. So we probably have maybe 4 years, 3 years. I'd probably say more like, considering Apple's coming out with a new M processor every freaking year now, and we're at 4 this year. Yeah, we got about 2 more, possibly 3, maybe. I think at the most, I think we're gonna have 4 years. I think by the fourth year from now. So, what are we at? 2024. So by 2028, we're gonna be down to 1 nanometer chips. Okay, is my prediction. And then we're screwed, all of us. Whether you're running on a Mac or a Windows ARM system, we're all going to be screwed, right? And we're not going to be able to get any more horsepower without turning up the voltage. The problem is you can't turn up the voltage too much higher, or things go up in flames. And that's just the way it goes, right? So we need a new technology that's going to last longer, okay? Because it's only been 4 years. And this, going from where they've started to where they are now, I mean, they still could have done a lot more. Even at 4 nanometer technology, they could still do a lot more with it, right? To juice it up more. But they didn't. They keep dropping, 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 right? And, and you can add all the cores you want, but you got to have juice to supply those cores, right? And you have to be able to have the software to take advantage of all this stuff too. And they're kind of running out of those kind of ideas as well in some areas, right? I mean, let's face it, even Apple Silicon even still sucks for gaming. We don't have the M4 computers out yet. They are coming, and I am not expecting to see much better results than an M3 chip. I really honestly am not. And given Apple's history in the last 4 years already, I'm kind of like, well, if anything, I could jump from an M1 to an M4 and I would be ecstatically happy. But that's a bigger jump. But if I'm coming from a 2 or a 3 into a 4, I'm not going to be too impressed. You know what I mean? That's the thing. But it does have a lot to do with core counts and, CPU, GPU, RAM speed. I mean, drive speed is a big issue too. Adequate amount of RAM in the computers. I mean, it's getting crazy out there. Like 16 is like the new 8, pretty much now. You know what I mean? So now you need 16 gigs of RAM to just sneak by. And I've been doing 16 gigs of RAM since day one in my Mini, and it's starting to get tight. It's like I could use more RAM, but Apple never even made this thing to go past 16 gigs. They waited until the M2 Pro Mini to go to 32 gigs, which is a joke. Anything Pro should be able to go at least 64 or higher, okay, and should automatically come with 32 as a minimum, but that's a Pro machine, right? And Apple doesn't think that way because they just don't. But they also got to come down a lot on their prices on RAM and drives. We already know that, but even their computers could drop exponentially in price too. That's a whole other video. But we are all in the same boat together, whether we are Mac people or whether we are PC people. With this ARM architecture, we're all in the same boat. We are running out of time fast. This is not Intel, where Intel has survived for a long, long, long time, but they're coming to an end. Well, they kind of ended years ago, but they're still trying to kick around, right? So, but ARM architecture is not going to last very long. We need something to fix this problem sooner, not later. And unless Apple has something in their basement awaiting release, we're all going to be in trouble, right? But I think at that point, Apple would probably have to share that tech at that point, because otherwise they would become the world dominator and every PC company on the planet would be out of business. And I don't even think the governments around the world are going to tolerate that sort of thing. But I also not too sure if Apple even has anything in their basement that is going to be a new emerging technology that is going to far surpass ARM. Okay? Because we as a civilization must continue on, and we cannot continue on if we are stuck with X amount of horsepower and that's it. We need to continually increase our horsepower of our computers. So we need them to be faster. We need them to be better. We need them to be more productive. And we can't do that if we drop down to the last stick on the nanometer scale and we can't go any further. So there's got to be some other technology that's got to come out within the next couple of years, probably even the next 2 years, to save us all in the computer industries, or we're all screwed. And I see that coming rather quickly, So have one doesn't the other, right? You know, I mean, this is something to seriously give some thought to. Where are we headed with this? You know, 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer, 1 nanometer, 4 years down the road, we're all going to be in a big pickle, and we can't go back to x86 to Intel because, you know, x86 machines are at the end of their rope. They can't push any more into these things without going. So what do, right? It's going to be interesting. Cool ride. Anyways, that's the basics I wanted to cover in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, got a lot out of it. Gives you some food for thought. Really, it does. I've had this on my mind now for a little while, and I thought I'd share my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where could we be heading into? What could be the next new emerging tech in the computer industry that's going to keep us going? Otherwise, we're literally screwed. Anyways, see ya.